Ngozi. What is the meaning of this? Where did you get this child?
My husband. I saw him from the dustbin earlier today.
What? Dustbin. Take him back where you found him.
No, my husband. He was helpless there, so I want to take care of him.
Okay. Then sort yourself, I'm leaving this house for you.
In the heart of Mushin, where the roads are cracked and the gutters overflow, there lived a woman named Ngozi. She was a woman of resilience, hardened by the struggles of life, yet softened by a heart too kind for the world she lived in. Each morning, before the sun fully rose, she set out with her cart, her hands wrapped in worn-out gloves, ready to scavenge through the refuse of the city. A dustbin woman, they called her. But to Ngozi, it was survival. Survival for herself, survival for her home, survival for the husband who no longer loved her. The people of Mushin avoided her. They turned their noses at the scent that clung to her skin, the grime beneath her fingernails. But she was not ashamed. Shame does not fill an empty stomach. One evening, as she dug through the filth, searching for something to sell, she heard a faint, desperate cry. A sound too human to ignore. She froze, her heart pounding. Was it her imagination? The cry came again. She pushed aside a heap of rotting waste and broken glass, revealing a tiny child, no older than a few days. His skin was caked in dirt, his lips dry from hunger. But his eyes still fought to stay open, refusing to give in to the cruel fate that had been written for him. Ngozi's hands trembled as she picked up the child. She knew hunger. She knew pain. She knew abandonment. And so, without hesitation, she wrapped the child in the fold of her tattered shawl and held him close. She carried him home, her mind racing. A child was a burden. Another mouth to feed. Yet, as she cradled him in her arms, she felt something she had not felt in years: purpose. Her home was no palace. A single room, dimly lit, the walls cracked and the floor bare. But that night, as the child lay in a woven basket beside her, it felt fuller than it ever had before. She sat beside him, watching his tiny chest rise and fall. She whispered, "You are not trash. You are mine now." Hours later, the door slammed open. Ngozi turned to see Uche, her husband, standing in the doorway, his face twisted in anger. He had returned from another long day of wandering the streets, searching for easy money. His patience was short, his words sharp. "What nonsense is this?" he demanded, his eyes darting to the sleeping child. "I found him, Uche. He was left to die in the trash. I could not leave him there." Uche scoffed. "You could not. And who will feed him? Who will feed you?" "Me." Ngozi looked at the child, then back at Uche. She already knew the answer. "I will." Uche laughed bitterly. A dustbin woman, feeding another mouth. "You are a fool, Ngozi. A complete fool." That night, Uche packed his things and left. He did not look back, did not offer a final word. And yet, as his footsteps faded into the night, Ngozi did not cry. She simply sat beside the child and whispered, "I will call you Namdi. Because my father lives." Days turned to weeks, and though food was scarce, Ngozi worked harder than ever. She scavenged, cleaned, and begged when necessary, anything to provide for the boy she had claimed as her own. Neighbors whispered behind her back, calling her foolish, calling the child a curse. But she did not listen. Namdi grew, and though their home remained poor, his spirit was rich. He clung to Ngozi, his tiny hands grasping her careless fingers. He laughed, he cried, and he filled the silence of her lonely world with joy. She spent her nights telling him stories, tales of warriors and wise kings, of spirits and tricksters. She taught him that life was not measured by wealth, but by kindness and strength. She told him that he was loved. One evening, as Ngozi sat exhausted on the floor, Nnamdi toddled toward her, his small feet unsteady. "Mama," he whispered for the first time. A single word, yet it held the weight of 1,000 lifetimes. Tears filled her eyes as she pulled him into her arms. She had lost a husband, but she had gained a son. And so, in the forgotten streets of Mushin, under the weight of poverty and loneliness, a mother was born. She did not give him life, but she gave him love. And sometimes, love is enough. The days turned into months, and the months into years. Nnamdi grew under the weary yet watchful eyes of Ngozi, who toiled harder than ever to provide for him. She no longer scavenged just for herself but for the boy she had chosen to love as her own. Life in Mushin was unkind. The street smelled of decay, and crime lurked in every shadow. The people still looked down on her, whispering behind her back about the foolish woman who had taken in a child that was not hers. But Ngozi cared little for their words. She worked with a determination that only a mother could understand. She woke before dawn, pushed her cart through the filth, and collected scraps to sell. On days when fortune favored her, she returned home with a few naira, just enough to buy a small portion of gari or beans. On other days, they made do with whatever she could scavenge. Nnamdi never complained. Though he was just a boy, he could see the weight of the world on Ngozi's shoulders. He learned early to help her, fetching water, sorting through the scraps she brought home, even carrying small loads when his little arms were strong enough. "Mama," he would say, his voice always filled with unwavering love. "One day, I will build you a big house. I will take you away from here." Ngozi would smile, though her heart ached. "My son, it is enough for me that you are here." But the world was unkind to poor boys from Mushin. As Nnamdi grew, so did the temptations of the streets. Many of the boys he played with were pulled into gangs, lured by the false promises of quick money and easy escape. Ngozi saw the dangers lurking around every corner. She prayed every night that her son would not be swallowed by the streets that had claimed so many others. She fought to keep him on the right path, instilling in him values of honesty and hard work. "The world will not be kind to you, my son," she warned. "But you must never lose yourself to it. Do not let hunger make you a thief, or anger make you a murderer." Nnamdi listened. He loved his mother too much to break her heart. But the hunger was always there, gnawing at him, whispering temptations of an easier way. One day, when Nnamdi was 10, he came home with a small loaf of bread. Ngozi looked at it and then at him. "Where did you get this?" The boy hesitated. "A man in the market gave it to me." Ngozi's eyes darkened. "For what, Nnamdi? Did you beg?" He shook his head quickly. "No, Mama. He said he liked me. That if I followed him, he would give me more." Ngozi's blood ran cold. She knelt before her son and gripped his shoulders. "Listen to me," she whispered fiercely. "There are men in this world who smile as they destroy you. You must never take from them. Never trust their kindness." Nnamdi nodded, understanding the fear in his mother's eyes. That night, he lay beside her on their mat, his small fingers curled around hers. The days continued in hardship, but Nnamdi remained by his mother's side, refusing to be swallowed by the darkness of the world around him. At 12, He began doing small jobs, running errands, carrying loads for traders in the market, anything that would bring home a few extra coins. Though the work was hard, it filled him with pride to see the relief on Ngozi's face when he handed her his small earnings. As he grew older, he saw the limitations of their world. He understood that no matter how hard his mother worked, they would always be trapped in motion unless he found a way out. And so, he made a promise to himself. He would leave one day. He would find a better life, and when he did, he would return for his mother. Ngozi saw the fire in his eyes and feared what it might lead him to. "Promise me, Nnamdi," she said one evening as they sat outside their tiny home, watching the distant glow of the wealthier parts of Lagos. "Promise me that you will not take shortcuts. That you will not let greed steal your soul." "I promise, Mama," he said. But promises are easier made than kept. As Nnamdi reached his teenage years, he grew restless. The weight of poverty bore down on him, making every meal he shared with his mother feel like a battle won, but a war still raging. The other boys he once played with had begun dressing differently, speaking with authority, flashing money they never used to have. One of them, Chaik, had been his childhood friend. Now, Chaik barely acknowledged him. One evening, Nnamdi found him leaning against a car with tinted windows, gold chains resting on his chest. "Nnamdi," Chaik greeted, smirking. "Still running errands in the market. Still playing good boy." "I work," Nnamdi replied, keeping his face firm. "I help my mother." Chaik chuckled. "Helping her stay poor. My brother, we all have choices. If you ever want to make real money, you know where to find me." Nnamdi turned away without a word, but the temptation lingered in his mind long after he reached home. That night, as he lay beside his mother, listening to the sounds of the night creeping in through the cracks in their walls, he felt something stir within him. He had promised his mother that he would not take shortcuts, but how long could he keep that promise? How long could he watch her struggle? How long could he fight against the tide of fate that seemed determined to keep them in the gutters? The stars outside shone brightly, mocking him with their freedom. And deep within him, a choice was forming, one that would shape the rest of his life. Nnamdi had always known that Mushin was not his final destination. He had grown up surrounded by hardship, yet within him burned the desire for something more, something bigger than the life his mother had fought to give him. He loved her, but he could not stay. The city of Lekki was a different world altogether. It stood in stark contrast to the cracked roads and decaying houses of Mushin. In Lekki, the streets were clean, the lights were bright, and the air carried the scent of wealth. To Nnamdi, it was a dream waiting to be claimed. At 17, he made his decision. He kissed Ngozi on the forehead one morning, gripping her frail hands with a mixture of guilt and excitement. "Mama, I have to go," he said. Ngozi searched his face, her tired eyes filled with worry. "Go where, my son?" "To the city. To Lekki." "I cannot stay here forever, Mama. I have to find a way to make things better. For both of us." Tears welled in her eyes, but she did not argue. She had always known this day would come. "If you must go," she whispered, "then go with wisdom. Do not forget who you are, Nnamdi. Do not let the world change you." He nodded, but deep down, he was already changing. The hunger for success gnawed at him like an unrelenting fire. And so, with nothing but a small bag of clothes and the weight of his mother's prayers, he left Mushin behind. Lekki welcomed him with open arms and hidden traps. The city was everything he had imagined, grand, glittering, full of life. But it was also ruthless. Nobody gave without expecting something in return. At first, survival was brutal. Nnamdi slept in unfinished buildings, scrounged for food, and chased odd jobs wherever he could find them. He worked at construction sites, carried bags for travelers, and ran errands for shop owners. But it was not enough. He wanted more. Needed more. Then he met Chief Odinigbo. The man was a businessman, wealthy beyond measure, and he took a liking to Nnamdi's determination. "You remind me of myself at your age," the chief said, patting him on the shoulder. "A boy with nothing but fire in his belly. That fire will either make you a king or burn you alive." Nnamdi listened, eager, desperate. He was willing to do whatever it took. Under Chief Odinigbo's guidance, Nnamdi learned the ways of the rich. He was introduced to powerful men, sat in rooms where deals worth millions were made, and learned the language of wealth. The more he saw, the more he wanted. Soon, he was no longer the boy from Mushin. With time, Nnamdi built his own empire. He invested in businesses, made smart deals, and rose through the ranks of Lekki's elite. His name became known. He attended parties where gold and champagne flowed like water, where the poor were nothing but distant memories. But in his rise, something shifted. The boy who once fetched water for his mother, who once swore he would never forget her sacrifices, began to drift further away. Ngozi's calls went unanswered. Her voice, once his greatest comfort, became an inconvenience. He was too busy, too important. At first, he sent money, believing it was enough. He thought wealth would replace presence. But what is money to a mother who only wants to see her son? Back in Mushin, Ngozi waited. Every day, she hoped. Every night, she prayed. But the visits never came. The money was there, yes. Envelopes filled with crisp notes arrived at her doorstep, but the sender was absent. "He is busy," she told herself. "He is working. He will come." But as months turned into years, her hope began to wane. Neighbors whispered, "Your son has forgotten you. He dines with the rich now, Ngozi. He is not coming back." But she refused to believe them. A mother never stops believing. Nnamdi, too, felt the distance, but he drowned it in luxury. He convinced himself that he was doing the right thing. He had built himself from nothing. He had clawed his way out of the gutters. Did he not deserve this life? One evening, as he sat in his penthouse overlooking the city, he received a call from an old friend. "Nnamdi," the voice on the line said, "I saw your mother today. She is not well." His chest tightened. "She looked weak. She asked about you. She still waits, you know. Every evening, she sits outside your old house, watching the road, hoping you will come." Nnamdi's heart pounded. He had convinced himself that she understood his silence. That she knew he was busy, that he was working for both of them. But the image of his mother, frail and waiting, shattered that illusion. He ended the call and sat in silence. Guilt washed over him. All the riches in the world, and yet, he had abandoned the one person who had given him everything. That night, he could not sleep. For the first time in years, he felt small again. A boy from Mushin, lost in a world too big for him. He needed to go back. He needed to see her. But sometimes, when you wait too long, time takes away the chance to make things right. The sun was setting over Mushin when Nnamdi finally returned. The roads that had once been his entire world now felt foreign beneath his feet. The smells, the sounds, the dust in the air, everything carried a weight of memories he had tried to bury. Dressed in an expensive suit, stepping out of a sleek black car, he looked out of place in the very streets that had raised him. The moment he stepped into the familiar neighborhood, whispers spread like wildfire. Nnamdi has returned. The son of the dustbin woman has come back. He ignored them, his heart pounding as he approached his old home. The house was smaller than he remembered, its walls more worn, its structure weaker. And there, sitting in the same spot she always had, was Ngozi. But something was wrong. She did not rise to meet him. She did not call his name with the joy he had expected. She simply sat there, staring at the ground, her frail body unmoving. "Mama," he called, his voice uncertain. She did not respond. A woman emerged from the house, her face etched with sorrow. It was Auntie Monike, their longtime neighbor. She shook her head. "She is gone, Nnamdi." The words did not register. "Gone? How?" He stepped forward, his knees weak. No, she can't be. She was waiting for me. She was waiting." Auntie Monike sighed, sadness deep in her eyes. "She waited, my son. She waited every day. She sat there, hoping you would return. Even when her body weakened, even when sickness took hold. She never stopped believing you would come." Nnamdi dropped to his knees before his mother, grasping her lifeless hands. "Mama, I'm here now. I came back. I made it. I built the life I promised you." But there was no answer. No warm embrace. No forgiveness. Only silence. Regret crashed over him like a tidal wave. He had waited too long. All the wealth, all the success, and yet, at that moment, he had never felt poorer. Tears streamed down his face as he pressed his forehead against her hands. "Mama, I am sorry. I should have come sooner. I should have listened. But regrets do not bring back the dead." The crowd that had gathered watched in silence. Some shook their heads, some murmured about the cruelty of fate. But fate had not been cruel, he had been. He had made choices. He had abandoned the woman who had given him everything. He had convinced himself that money could replace love, that success could erase obligation. Now, he understood the truth. You can always make money, but you cannot buy back time. The burial was quiet. The people of Mushin, despite their judgment, came to pay respects to the woman who had never stopped loving her son. Nnamdi stood by her grave, staring at the freshly turned earth. The weight on his chest was unbearable. For the first time in years, he felt like the boy who once held his mother's hand, promising her better life. And he had failed her. Weeks passed, but the guilt never faded. One evening, he returned to Mushin, dressed simply, without his wealth on display. He walked through the streets, seeing the struggle, the hunger, the pain he had once known too well. A group of children played in the dirt, their laughter a bittersweet sound. He saw himself in them. And in that moment, he knew what he had to do. He could not bring his mother back, but he could honor her. Nnamdi took his wealth and poured it into Mushin. He built schools, funded businesses, created shelters for struggling mothers. He made sure that no woman would have to suffer as his mother had, that no child would have to grow up abandoned by the very people they loved. It was not redemption. Nothing could erase what he had done. But it was a start. Life moves fast. We chase dreams, chase success, thinking we have time. But time waits for no one. If you watch the story from the beginning till this part, and you have someone who loves you, who sacrificed for you, do not wait until it is too late. Call them. Visit them. Tell them you love them. Because one day, you may turn back, and they will no longer be there.